I am Neil.
I'm Veronica. We fell in love when we were 16, and here we are talking about what life is all about for us. Thank you for joining us.
This is a Life Is podcast with Neil and Veronica.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Life Is with Neil and Veronica, where we bring up topics about life and what it means to us. And so in today's episode, I'm going to let Veronica deliver what she would love to talk about, as we were having a conversation about a certain topic. And I know she felt very strongly because her emphasis on it was quite strong. So Veronica, what would you like to talk about?
Ooh, I have all the feels before even saying it out loud. Life is about admiring your own beauty.
Love it.
I feel so passionate about this. I was like, let's record. I'm ready. And I mean, I don't know what's going to come out in this necessarily. And I mean, we never do. Like we say, it's kind of our kitchen conversations, but I feel like there's a whole series about this. You're probably going to hear me go a lot in this because like I have a very big problem with or gripe or I don't know, issue with how we are constantly blasted with messages that tell us that we are not beautiful, that tell us that we are less than, not good enough, that we don't measure up to whatever this societal standard of beauty is, which like fashion, beauty, whatever, everything changes so much. And oh my gosh, here I go. But I feel like I want to say like beauty is in the eye of the beholder in a sense. And we're not just talking about physical beauty. Sure, it's like the first thing that you can see. Sure, it's the first thing that you might see when you look in the mirror. But I'm just thinking of like all these different examples about how, you know, beauty is so subjective, but really nobody should have a say on how you measure up in terms of whatever scale beauty is measured in, except for you. And that we all have our own beauty. We all have our own aspects, characteristics, you know, mannerisms, whatever is inside and outside that make us beautiful. So take a minute right now for those of you that are listening or watching. And if you have not heard the message that you are beautiful, let this be the message. And whether you believe it in this moment or not, I hope that you can incrementally get there in seeing and admiring your own beauty. Because a lot of what's been coming up lately is my own health journey. You know, Neil and I have been talking about this a lot, and everyone's been kind of wondering as well. I mean, sure, like on the outside, I feel like change can be noticeable. But I feel like it's so interesting getting messages sometimes. And we'd want to hear it though, right? Who actually doesn't love hearing someone saying like, you're beautiful? Of course, like we want to hear that. But that's the whole like external validation piece. And as someone who is now raising kids, it doesn't matter if they're girls or boys or whatever it is. Like the whole thing is also just even in terms of like self-worth, right? And we can so easily compare ourselves to whoever it is. Maybe it's your best friend. Maybe it is the person on TV. Whoever that is, we've just become so almost accustomed to not measuring up, right? So even like I want to think like, you know, a significant transformation in the last year. Do I, you know, admire and see my own beauty? Yeah, of course. But do I still feel good enough? Nah, I don't know. I'm still like a little bit dicey on that sometimes because I feel like there's just been so many years of not feeling good enough and having messages, not from you, Neil. Gosh, Neil's the one to tell me like every second all the time. So thank you for that. But even in the entirety of our relationship, like you would be like, "Good morning, beautiful." And I was like, "You have to say that." I mean, I wouldn't react that way. I would love it. And I would, lovingly be grateful for your messages. But that's the thing, is that no matter how much someone can tell you something, until you start admiring it yourself, like it's just a huge journey in that sense, and a huge issue that I have of all of the messages that just keep telling us that we're not.
I think about the messages that you've talked about, and when we were growing up, obviously the messages were a lot to do with magazines or billboard ads or TV commercials, right? And when you're in a young stage of your life, your like your belief and your thought process are so moldable that it doesn't take very much to shape, like the message. It doesn't have to be very like long to have such an impactful shape on your beliefs on what beauty is and how much you need to compare yourself, right? And I feel that we have accelerated the different senses of media when it comes to social media, and just the sheer volume of comparison and messages about what beauty is compared to 20 years ago or more when we were younger. And so it's a great reminder to any of those who maybe have young kids or young people in their lives that it doesn't take much to shape their beliefs or what they maybe deem beautiful, right? And that's not to say that, certain things can't still be present, but I think it's all about just how we carry ourselves when it comes to what we find beautiful. And, Veronica was saying, like, is this something that can resonate with the male population? And I said, yes, of course it does. This is a whole message to anybody and everybody about beauty, because for me, it could even be about what beautiful things you bring to the world in a personality or in a friendship, right? Like there are so many things that can be like beautiful about just being a great partner, about being a great parent, about being a great person to others, right? Like it just carries so much other things. And again, to your point earlier, yes, we see people first, and the old saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover," but it's true. Like we see people before we even maybe hear from them, and maybe it takes them a while to open up, and you don't get to know the beautiful person inside, but you see like the outside. And if we're always comparing, if we're always thinking about like that external beauty or like what we have been shown, it really starts to diminish or alter our initial judgment, which of course is not what we want to be in meeting other people or learning about other people or whatever it is. And this is again to the whole point of like having just that observational time with people that we just talked about, because you begin to see every aspect that is beautiful in each person and what qualities they bring to whatever it is, friendship wise, work aspect, whatever it is. And so I think it's a beautiful message and reminder. Again, you coming up to or just passing the 1 year mark of your health journey and feeling beautiful and healthy inside, and just the results that have given to you outside.
I think honestly, a big part of it is that when I started to invest in myself, and my health. Here it is again. Yay. I love that it's just coming up like totally organically. But when I started to do that, it was like I started to feel better in myself. And so I feel like I started to carry myself differently. So I feel like I just started to honestly like just glow differently. Like I really feel that because my whole thing is just, I kept saying to myself, like, I'm on a mission to heal from the inside out. And that means a lot of different things. And why, like, what's so interesting is that, like, number one, we're so quick to deflect like any compliments or anything. A lot of us are. Maybe not everybody, a lot of us are. Number two is that by saying, am I numbering or lettering? Anyways, but by saying something out loud, or like even just by saying, like, even if I was like, I love my eyes or whatever it is, right? We have this sense of like, oh, I don't want to feel like I'm totally like, what's the word? Like conceited or like I'm full of myself or whatever. Why not? Why can we not love ourselves out loud? We've said time and time again, love out loud in terms of like telling people that you love them. Why can't we start loving ourselves out loud in a sense and like changing that narrative and telling ourselves more how much we love ourselves in a sense and what we like about ourselves. Honestly, like it is, I feel like it would be probably a hard exercise for most, but everyone should have no shorter than like at least a list of 10 if you give yourself a couple minutes. Start with one, make a list of 3. It could be anything inside or outside. If you're driving, like, I don't know, say something about yourself that you love about yourself out loud. And it's like, I don't know when we were guilted into like not loving ourselves out loud in a sense. Oh my goodness. Okay. Does this not remind you? What did she say? Our oldest daughter wrote something down and it was like so profound for us at the time. You'd think it was so profound that I would be able to remember. But I'm going to blame it on me being totally squirrely. Neil's smiling, so I'm hoping that he remembers. But I think we're trying to model. No, he doesn't. He just made another face. But I think we're trying to model this is that just like loving on ourselves out loud and saying to other people, right, in our lives, like what we love about them, inside, outside, whatever it is. I know, Neil, you do that for me a lot. I hope that I do that for you too. And it's really nice when I see that reflected in the kids, right? I mean, sometimes it's so cute. It's something so small. And we're trying to get better as well, about compliments that aren't necessarily always about physical. Like I said, it is totally nice to get a compliment like that, especially when you've been working on yourself in that way. But we're trying to get better at compliments that are not about necessarily like physical appearance or like even what you're wearing necessarily, because maybe that's your fashion, but it really has nothing to do about you. And something that Neil always says is when you invest in yourself, like what is it that you can invest in yourself that people can't take away from you? Right. So when we're thinking of like admiring our beauty in things, it's like when we focus on those aspects, I think they tend to grow a little bit more, or they start to multiply a little bit, or, we start to believe it a little bit more when we start saying those things to ourselves a little bit more, right? It's that whole, I feel like maybe it's not equating it in this exact kind of example, but it's like that growth mindset or whatever it is. So, yeah.
I think, to your point about pushing yourself to make a list of 10 things, right? If you can only think of 3, push yourself to think of 5. If you can only think of 5, push yourself to think of 10. Because again, piggybacking off what you just said about having a growth mindset, when we're maybe just comfortable in, the one thing we love about ourselves, we don't really begin to see the full impact that our beauty inside and out has on the world and those around you. And if you push yourself to be uncomfortable, you will begin to see there are more likely than more than 10, but keep pushing yourself to find more every so often. And maybe it's in a moment where you're like, somebody says like, wow, thank you so much for doing this for me. And then somebody else says it again, and somebody else says it again. And you're like, okay, I like this part of me really is a beautiful thing. And I should remember that and make a list and grow that list and push yourself to find those things, whether it is, again, admiring your physical attributes. One of them that maybe people can see that I always tell Veronica is her beautiful nose that other people have also told her about. But there are things that you can start to see in yourself and that you're doing for others, that you're doing for yourself. Maybe it's something that you're like, wow, this is a beautiful thing that I'm doing for myself. And that counts as well, right? Don't let the impact of doing something beautiful for you feel like it's nothing, because it's like, again, to what Veronica's saying, an investment in yourself. And whether it's health or it's, knowledge, whatever it is, if you're doing something that makes you feel beautiful or that it has a beautiful impact on you, admire that, write that down, and grow your list to an X amount number of things that you can keep finding, because those things don't leave you once they're on that list. They're always with you. So I agree, like there's so many things that we can find, and start with one and then add one more and then add one more.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you have a list of 100 or more.
Mm-hmm. And we so deserve that self-love. And, there might have been a moment or many moments or maybe a person or a few people that maybe didn't say such nice things about you at some point. Right. And I feel like that is almost like the biggest disservice in a sense, is that like starting to believe that, like in believing like maybe those not such great things that, someone might have said, like, I'm Asian. My eyes are smaller than a lot of other people. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, when I was younger, that was a thing. And now, you know what? I would be really quick to tell you that it's actually probably one of my favorite physical attributes of myself. So I think like we're so worthy of our own love that we so quickly can give to others, to pick others up, right? To like pour into everyone else. And again, I think like I want to see everyone's list because I think that is just so important, is to admire our own beauty.
And one thing that I know you've said on previous conversations, and you've said this to me and we've said this to the kids, is making that list or admiring things that are beautiful about yourself will never diminish the beauty of somebody else. Because like, again, we're steering clear of a comparison world where I compare my list to yours. We're trying to share and admire,
Celebrate.
that somebody, and celebrate that somebody is willing to share that list with you, right? And it does not, again, like if there's two things that are the same, that's great. But like, just because it's that there for them does not diminish the impact that yours has on you and in your world. And so I think that that's another thing to remember, that you always are aware of, is that, you know, the impact of your beauty doesn't diminish the impact of somebody else's. And so just know that by making your list and adding one more and sharing that, and seeing what others have, is that they can all be admired for their unique qualities and what that brings to every individual person's life.
And you don't even have to share that list right away. It might be really awkward at first. I'm just like, honestly, I'm actually picturing like writing things down for myself in a notebook in a sense, right? I'm like, oh, I should do that. I'm going to go do this right after. But I'm like, oh, it's kind of awkward. I don't think I'd share right away. But you know what? Maybe I will. I'm going to make a list and I'm going to share it on our Instagram account. I'm going to put it out there to the world about the things that I admire about myself. And there was a point actually when we were in our fertility journey that I wrote quotes to myself using whiteboard marker on our mirror. And actually, like, by the time I tried to erase it, because I was either replacing it with something else, for some reason it was like really imprinted on there. But I think I'm going to start to like do that. And like, that would not be such a bad thing if the kids saw that on the mirror all the time, right? About like words that, I don't know, or things that I might admire about myself. But this is, and I'm trying to think of this. I feel like I have to loop back and we're going to have to share it somehow in another way. But there was a time when our oldest basically self-proclaimed loving either something about herself or even in general, saying like how much she loved herself or something like that. And I was like, that is the best thing I've heard. I was like, okay, parenting win right there in a sense. And you know, I'm just gonna relish in that moment. Cause yeah, we could totally say, just wait for all the other influences and this and that and wait till she's a teenager. Yeah, for sure. But I think our whole thing is just, you know, continuing to deliver some of those messages and just modeling some of that. And even, you know, it's easier, I think, as a parent when we make the excuse of we're doing it for the kids. That's how I got on my health journey. Honestly, I was like, I'm going to do it for the kids because I want to be the healthiest me so I can live my best, hopefully longest life for them. Right. So if you have to make it an excuse for someone else in order to start to do it, I don't know, do it. Pick somebody and just do it. Because it's so easy for me to sit here and say, I'm going to do it for the kids. I'm going to model. But at the end of the day, who should I be doing it for? Ultimately, is myself, right? And so I think, again, it's taking those little steps in investing in ourselves and our health and our wealth, right? Neil, we started the podcast on this, and I hope it never goes away. When I'll let you repeat it, actually, I'll let you say it because we're however many episodes in. And I feel like that focus that you said back in January, you know, continues to weave through, but I think it's so worth it just to say the whole thing all over again.
Yeah, no, we're 35 episodes in, and you know what started this all off was me working towards goals for 2023 of my health, myself, and my wealth. And you know, we're over halfway there now, and I think that there's a lot of impact that I've had in all three categories, but there's still a long way to go. But I'm definitely proud of the progress that I've made in each individual category. And just being able to focus on those three areas, I know that it's had a big impact on, you know, what I'm able to be as a person, a partner, a husband, and a father, and all those other things that go along with it. So yeah, that's how this all started. And again, when you start to admire your own beauty inside and out, it will be an investment in your health, mental health, physical health, emotional health, every aspect of health, right? Because there's so many, different parts of health. And so don't discount, again, what Veronica was saying is if you need to start with putting that out there for somebody else, that's okay. Start somewhere. And just like on her health journey, it came full circle and it started to become, no, I'm doing this for me, but it will impact them when it came to the kids. But as long as you start and you add one more and you add one more, you'll start to see that you're actually doing this for you, and it impacts so many different parts of your everyday life, your everyday health. And it's just, I think, a great topic that you brought up, and I'm glad that you didn't stop at just thinking that it could just impact certain people, because no, it impacts everybody when you start to admire your own beauty.
Yeah, give yourself the love that you so quickly give to everyone else around you. I think that resonates with a lot of people.
Absolutely. So thank you, everybody, for allowing us to share what we so lovingly talk about in our everyday lives in this platform. We truly appreciate every single conversation. And don't forget that life is much more beautiful with each and every one of you. And we look forward to speaking with you again next time.